Hey guys, Brad Gilmore here. Want to give a big shout out to our title sponsor, Walker Texas Lawyer. If you or a loved one have been injured in an accident, whether that be a car, truck, motorcycle accident, or some kind of other issue, hit up Walker Texas Lawyer at 713-552-1117 or walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Matthew McConaughey.
Brad Gilmore.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
Well, I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Jessica Alba and Lizzie Mathers. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Kevin Costner joins us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Chris Tucker is in the building. Chris Tucker, good morning to you.
Hey, Brad. Good morning to you. How are you?
George Lopez joins us right now. George, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What lovely to talk. You me funny lad.
Megan Trainor.
Thank you so much, Brad. You're awesome.
Chloe Bailey joins us. I appreciate the time.
Appreciate you.
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat.
And I'm so excited to welcome my next guest. He is the author of the brand new book, Bruce Willis, celebrating the cinematic legacy of an unbreakable Hollywood icon. He is the author who's joining us again on the program, Mr. Sean O'Connell. Sean, how are you, sir?
I'm wonderful. It's good to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Congratulations on the book, man. I mean, I know last time we spoke, after our interview wrapped, you whispered sweet nothings in my ear and told me that this was a project that you were working on. How does it feel that it's finally now a couple months since its release? How does it feel that it's out there and in the public world now?
It feels really satisfying. I mean, this is a deep dive into the film career of Bruce Willis. And I really thought this was a good time to do it because he had announced his retirement due to health concerns. And so it was an opportunity to look at the totality of his career. If I was to approach anyone else, you know, say a Harrison Ford or someone along those lines, that they're still making movies, so you can't really put the big picture process underneath the microscope and really figure out like what Bruce's career meant to the industry. And I do think that Bruce had a really big impact, not just on the action genre that everybody talks about, but a lot of other places where he sort of risked and stretched and went after dramatic roles and worked with really exciting filmmakers. And so because so many people, I think, kind of pigeonhole him into this one category, I wanted to sort of prove that he is more than what people assume, and also kind of like the last of this dying breed of movie stars, where we just don't see people who go to the movies because of a particular actor anymore. And I think they did back when Bruce was thriving.
Well, Bruce Willis, obviously, you know, people think Die Hard. You know, some people who might think Moonlighting, which, you know, I was a big fan of Moonlighting as well. I'm on the small screen. But really, when you look at the totality of his filmography, there are so many different genres, different types of roles that he approached, sometimes in roles that you wouldn't even expect him to be in, he pops up. And I want to get there. But first, I'm always always obsessed with how people come up with certain things, especially titles and especially subtitles. Yeah. How many did you go through? Because I know when you landed on celebrating the legacy of an unbreakable Hollywood icon, you had to pat yourself on the back a little bit there, because that's a great subtitle. How many did you go through to try to find the right one?
A few, but what I'll tell you is the title of the book was going to be Unbreakable, and sort of hint at the fact that like his spirit endures and almost like his persona. You know, he has this sort of granite rock, unbreakable persona, a Die Hard-esque type of thing.
Right.
But Brad, I really learned with books, you know, you can't get cute with a title. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna move Unbreakable down to the subtitle, still keep it because I thought it was clever, and I'm just gonna lead with Bruce Willis, so that if you're walking through a bookstore and you see a picture of Bruce on the cover and it says Bruce Willis on the front, you know exactly what you're getting. So I decided not to be too cute and just and lead with don't bury the lead essentially, and put Bruce right on the front.
Yeah, you can't. With a book, it's got to be very. Here it is. This is what it is. Yeah. There's no interpretation any other way. This is what we're selling. Putting the book together, obviously, it takes a lot of research, especially when you're covering the breadth of a career like Bruce Willis. Did you find yourself enjoying the research process because you're such a Willis fan, because you're such a film expert, going in and digging up and unearthing these little anecdotes or stories or details that you didn't know before? Or did you find it arduous?
Oh no, it was great. Well, without question, because the very end of the book, what I try to include is a capsule review of every movie he appeared in. He has 107 feature films to his credit, so I had to actually buckle down and watch every single one of them. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that that was enjoyable. There are a number of them that probably deserve to be skipped. He has his classics for sure. So it was work. But what I did to keep it interesting, both to me and to the reader, is instead of just doing like a straight, on day one, Bruce Willis did this and go chronologically all the way through, I tried to break his entire filmography up into sections, and I wanted to break them up by genre, because when you do talk about the different types of films that he attacked, he started in comedies, and he would still keep going back to comedies every once in a while through the course of his career. People, probably remember that he had a cameo on Friends after doing the whole 9 yards with Matthew Perry, and that led to a friendship that led to some professional courtesy. He shows up in Ocean's 12 in a cameo playing himself, which I think is one of the funniest things he's ever appeared in. He had a run through the 1990s and early 2000s where he did a number of science fiction films, which a lot of the action stars did. Stallone went after a few of those, Schwarzenegger did. But for Bruce, I thought that they were smarter picks, things like Looper, things like 12 Monkeys, even The Fifth Element, which was kind of like an adventure story with Luc Besson. Obviously, you get his dramas. And so, so we don't just go through his career of like start to finish. You can break it up into chunks and sections. And the way that the book is designed, and this is how I kept it interesting for me as well, too, is that I legitimately want people to skip to a chapter, about a movie that they love and read that one first, and then maybe put the book down and then go watch it. It's meant to be a guide that you can sort of hop in and out of, because I immediately want you to sort of go and watch the movie that we're talking about in the book, process it maybe through a new lens, appreciate something new that maybe you didn't think about while you were watching it. Because there's some of his movies that he's been in, whether it be Pulp Fiction, or again, I mentioned 12 Monkeys, like they end on these conversation starters that then I hope the book sort of picks up and runs with. And so that's how I kept it interesting for me. And I hope keep it interesting that way for the reader.
Well, it's interesting when you start listing off just in that 1 second there, all the titles that Bruce Willis's name has been attached to. It's kind of a remarkable filmography. Unlike maybe any other Hollywood icon, to use your terminology, I can think of, only from the simple fact of you have Die Hard, the action franchise that everyone really probably first associates with him. But then when you think about Pulp Fiction, one of the most iconic films of all time, that really changed the way that people consume movies and movies are made, Bruce Willis is very prominently featured in that film. And then you're right, whole 9 yards. Who doesn't love that one? What a fun little thing. Now, here's one that I love Bruce Willis, and I want to get your assessment of his role in this movie, because you are the film expert, you're the film guru. It's one of my favorites. It's Robert Zemeckis. It's Death Becomes Her.
Yeah.
That I feel like his performance in that is really, I don't know if there's another one that matches in his filmography to what he was playing in that film.
Well, that's a great example. I'm so glad you brought it up, because it really highlights a number of things that he does that I think his contemporaries struggled with doing, which is he didn't always have to be the star. And in fact, he was very comfortable being the setup guy for funnier people. He could be really funny, but take the whole 9 yards as an example. Like, he's there to set up Matthew Perry, Kevin Pollak, Michael Clark Duncan. He's a bit of the straight guy. In Death Becomes Her, he is, in the shadows of Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, and very happy to be there. Like, he knows his role in that picture, and he never he was a character actor in a leading man's body, right? Like he was very content to serve the story. And in Death Becomes Her, it means being a wallflower who's put upon by these big performances, by these incredibly gifted comedians. So I loved him in that. And the one thing that he did as well too in that film is I say this in the book. You don't really use the word chameleon for Bruce Willis. When you see him pop up in a movie, whether it's one of the Expendables films or Sin City, it's Bruce Willis. In that film, he's got the hairpiece, he's got the clothes that don't really fit him all that well. He kind of disappears into the part. And because he did that so infrequently, I love that he got a shot to do it. And that Zemeckis knew, I'm going to play to your sense of humor. I know you can do physical comedy. I know you have the comedic timing. And I wish more directors gave him a chance to do that because it really showed his range. That's a terrific, terrific film. And one thing that I do, or I try to do in the book every once in a while, I've been doing it a lot when I try to make this comparison. You could take Schwarzenegger and Stallone, who again are like the Planet Hollywood guys, and Bruce falls in that camp, and deservedly so. And while I think you could have put Bruce in most of their movies, like he could do Total Recall if he wanted to. He probably could have done Rocky, maybe not quite as well. But you can't put Schwarzenegger in Death Becomes Her, You cannot put Stallone in The Sixth Sense. They do not have the chops, to do the types of stuff that Bruce Willis did. And that's what I think elevates him above those counterparts.
It's a really great point because, again, Bruce almost, and Death Becomes Her is a great example of being such a giving lead actor. There are some guys who would just want to be like, if Schwarzenegger was in Death Becomes Her, it becomes an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
Goldie Hawn and Meryl are taking a back seat, and he's going to be the funny one. He's going to get the jokes. He's going to do it all. But whereas Bruce was, like you said, very comfortable. And in your research of him as a person, where do you think that comes from? Because to me, to be a leading man, you have to have a certain ego about yourself and a certain confidence about yourself. But It seems that he also had a wherewithal to know it's better to be part of a great movie than to be great in a bad movie.
I honestly do think what it comes down to is his upbringing in the sort of New Jersey, Philadelphia atmosphere, which is, there's some East Coast bravado without a doubt. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but that humble kind of blue collar, background and his roots in that community, I think established him pretty early on as a team player. He came up through, doing some New York theater, went the bartender route, that a lot of these other guys who became A-listers didn't get, that do sort of humble you a little bit, that break you of that ego. And when he starts on Moonlighting. It's very much a Sybil Shepherd show. He gets a lot of praise for it, and then comes up through Die Hard. And Die Hard, again, establishes him as this blue-collar underdog guy who's, fighting against incredible odds. It's almost like he didn't get painted early on as a larger than life person. Schwarzenegger comes on with Terminator. He's an unstoppable force. Bruce was a regular guy. He was an everyman kind of thing. And I think that helped to identify him. But I also just think he had more fun when he had other people to play off of. The movie that I think most resonates as a Bruce Willis film, the movie that speaks to all of his interests, is the only movie that he gets a story by credit on, is Hudson Hawk. And in Hudson Hawk, you just see him having a good time with Danny Aiello as cat burglars who happen to sing. He's got zany villains, to play off of. He's got a leading lady, Andie MacDowell. He didn't always want to be the center of attention. He wanted an ensemble around him. And I think you see multiple examples of that over the course of his career.
And it's just what makes him truly that Hollywood icon. Now, real quick, Willie, before I let you go, and thank you so much for your time. Sure. Obviously, two quick things. But one, when you write about a subject who is still here, he might be retired, but obviously Bruce is still around. I'm sure that there's a lot of responsibility that you feel falls on your shoulders to do his story and all the movies justice and to make it not only engaging for an audience member, but if a member of the Willis family picks it up, to make it heartwarming for them. Have you had any interactions with Bruce throughout the years? I know you're a junket guy. You've done a lot of junkets over the years, a lot of interviews with a lot of top guys. Have you had any run-ins with Bruce? And if so, have you had any post this book, or had anything, any interactions with the family after this book came out?
Great story. I mean, great question. And I have two quick stories. I'll let you know. I never got a chance to interview him face to face, which I'm disappointed in. But I also wanted to go into this book free to be able to talk about his movies the way that I wanted to. I didn't want to have to soft shoe around different ones. I wanted to be critical of certain things that he made decisions in. I wanted to be able to praise his work as well too. Also wanted to focus just on the films. There's plenty of stuff you could write about Bruce Willis off screen if you wanted to, and I'm sure somebody will write that book. I would think it would be great if somebody in his family wrote something that's a little bit more personal. This is without a doubt something that just focuses on his work and him as an actor. So I didn't reach out to the family for that reason, but I did during the press days for Looper. I was at the Toronto International Film Festival, and Looper was kicking off the festival that year. And I was getting Emily Blunt, and I was getting Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I was on deck to interview Emily Blunt, and I saw Bruce coming down the hallway. And what he wanted to do was just sort of peek his head into Emily's room and say hello to her as they were doing. He was doing some press, very limited. I didn't get him. And I don't get starstruck because I've been lucky enough to interview countless, actors and celebrities. And I truly have gotten myself to a point where they are just people to me. But when I saw him coming down the hallway, my stomach dropped and my mouth dried up, and I did not know what to say, because this was truly someone who to me is larger than life. And he had a little bounce in his step, and he looked right at me and he was like, "Hey, do you mind if I just jump in here and say hello?" And I don't think I said anything. My mouth just moved, and I was like, "Go ahead." The other time that I had a chance to get him is they did an anniversary celebration for Die Hard, and they did it at the Fox building, which is Nakatomi Plaza. And I couldn't go. I had a family thing going on. And in the back of my mind, I thought, like, I'll get him at another time. I'll let this one go. And it just goes to show you should jump at these opportunities when you get a chance, because now I don't think I'll ever get him. And he'll be my white whale forever.
He'll be your white whale, but at least you have this incredible book to celebrate his legacy. Again, the name of the book is Bruce Willis, Celebrating the Cinematic Legacy of an Unbreakable Hollywood Icon. The author is Sean O'Connell. Sean, thank you so much. They can get the book on Amazon. And any certain place we should tell them to go get it?
No, Amazon works. Local bookstores, just check it out in the movie and TV section. And hope you guys enjoy it.
Well, Sean, we appreciate you joining us again.